Today we're going to make some really cool rustic door handles. We're going to actually put this on the kiln, or we're going to at least pretend like we're going to. I don't know if we're going to end up using this because the kiln's a big box and geometric shapes look nice with geometric shapes, but we're going to build it anyways because it sounded like fun. Today all we're going to do is pick out our two limbs and we are going to trim them, and then we are going to take them through the table saw to give us a flat surface to actually mount. So when you're picking out your two limbs, pick out something that kind of has this bow to it, and then try to pick one out that is pretty similar to it. So what I've done is I found these two. They're very similar in size and thickness, and they also have about the same bend, so that'll look nice when they're side by side opening each of the doors. So right now I have it so that they are too large and I need to trim it off. So we're just going to use a simple Sawzall to trim that off. We'll do that first. Next, we have sort of a jig. It's really just two pieces of wood that are at 90 degrees. I use little pocket holes to put it together. I actually did this for some other project entirely, but it seemed appropriate for this. And if you'll notice, I try to get the whole limb off so that I'm not splitting it down the center. That way it just looks a little bit more uniform when I am actually mounting it on the door. And I say that like I know what I'm doing, but this is really the very first time I've ever done it. Even marked it up. I should have dry run this a lot more, but figured we'll get to see all the mistakes I make this way. I'm gonna mark on here the relative height that I'm going for so I can compare it to the next one. Looks pretty good. And what I'm doing here is I'm checking the depth at which we're going to have left over to make sure that my fingers aren't going to get crushed when I go to use it, and to make sure that they're kind of similar. So I need to push the seemingly larger one forward a little bit. It's going to be cut down here and up here, and that way they'll look the same height. So let's see, where's my knob? So I'm going to pre-drill some holes through here and through here to keep it from moving. And all we're going to do is use this to slide through the table saw, and it's going to cut our flat areas so that it's easier to mount. Now I'm just using some old drywall screws. Quick and easy. And if you've determined already which handle is going to be on the left and which is going to be on the right, then you can make it so these pre-drilled holes are going to be hidden depending on what area you're walking into the room or the barn or whatever, if it matters. It doesn't really matter in this case. Yeah, I just want it to be flat. Make sure you don't drill all the way through, because then when you're passing it through the table saw, you're going to put big old scratches on your top. Now we have our template. We've secured it down. We're going to run it through the table saw, and then we'll do the same thing for the other side. Go ahead and measure up. What's nice about this is I can just slide it against it. Safety goggles. Must have washed these pants because my hearing protection's not here. Now remember, we're working with a wet wood, and when we pass it through a SawStop, if it is wet, it is going to trigger the mechanism. So you got to be a lot more careful when you're doing this. And we're gonna have to turn off the protection mechanism as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Turn off the safety, turn the key forward, it will blink red once and go back to green and start blinking. Then I will turn on the saw, it will blink red and then turn back to green. Now it's time to be extra careful. Try that again, see if we can get the whole thing this time. Perfect. Mark where the knot comes out, which is about here. That way, get this one relatively close. How the blade is going to pass, it's just too close for my comfort. Safety goggles, ear protection, and remember, working with wet wood, turn off the SawStop. Overall, for an impromptu quick session, I think these turned out really nicely. So I thought I was done with these, but my wife kind of likes them. So she said, go ahead and try it out. We're gonna mount these. When you go to mount something like this, you wanna look for your meatier sections, the thicker sections, so that when you pre-drill your hole in, you don't just end up cracking it off. Being OCD is not fun. That is bothering me. Now this one I got, when I first put it in, I wasn't pushing against the wood. So what it did is it backed the wood away from the door. So what I'm gonna do is back the screw out so that I can push this against the door. And since it's already kind of pre-drilled itself, it'll suck the piece of wood firmly against the door. You don't want it to have any of that wiggle play, because if it does do that, you're gonna end up cracking it a lot faster. So that's what's behind it. So I was just hoping that I went into one, and that would be kind of silly if I didn't. I had a couple more screws just for safe measure. That's snugged up nicely. That one too. Okay, screws were worth it. I didn't like their visual appeal, but also don't want it ripping off the wall. Okay, now these doors are extremely snug, and the paint, the asphalt emulsion, has made it very sticky. They are very difficult to open, to say the least. Okay, on to the rest of our work.